We are live. Hey, it's a little bit of a different setup in here. I'm trusting you guys can hear me okay. As we get people showing up, we'll have that conversation. Make sure you guys can hear me because technology has not been my friend today. It has not been my friend today. You ever had that situation? Right? I almost always will do this through Zoom, right? And then bring it over to here because I have better control. I have recording things going on in the background, and I can use all that technology. But for some reason, as soon as I went to go live, had everything ready to go. Nah, we're not going to let you go live. Didn't have permission, so I had to figure that out. And then came over here, just go native right from within the Facebook group, and it still gave me some challenges. But here we are, and I'm jacked that we're here so that we can get things going. I want to cover a couple things, but before I get too far, let me share this with you. I think you guys have been kind of keeping up with the progress we've been making on. Sorry, I'm just checking to see what's going on. Make sure I'm doing this right because I'm at a different platform, right? So, all right, Dan, good to see you, bud. By the way, Dan, if you don't mind, let me know if you can hear me okay because I had to do some changes on the technology, so that's why you see the setting the way it is right now, and we're just going to move along, right? Real Estate Reset. It's live. It's out there. This episode of Spencer Uncensored, episode 57, I believe. By the way, this is the Real Estate Agent Group where we come together so we can talk about making more so we can live more. And I have been working steadily on two primary projects, okay? One of them is the Real Estate Reset course. That course is going to take us 12 weeks or a little bit more. So it's been a lot of work going into that. And I didn't realize, I guess most people don't realize how much effort and energy and focus it takes to just put together videos, right? And then not to mention creating forms and documents and things that people would want to have to go along with it. All the pieces that go. I wasn't aware of that. So anyway, we're working through that, making sure that becomes a very solid program for agents who are looking to get a reset in their business. Why is that important? Well, I think I'm going to cover some of that tonight. So I don't want to spoil that. Hold on, because we're going to talk about coaching and different programs and what they are and the differences and so on. But that's been one primary focus for me the last couple of weeks is that course. The other focus, of course, is the book, right? Unshakable Drive. And so not only are we writing that book, but we're also going through all the process of launching it. So that's including speaking events and getting things in place. We're currently talking to a couple of real estate offices out in Southern California, Cincinnati. I got to put some things together for the Carolinas. If any of you, by the way, are interested in having a conversation around bringing me in to speak, right now I'm pimping myself out. We just want to get out in front of as many people as possible and get the message out. And it's pretty inexpensive from the perspective that really all I'm looking to do is peddle the book, right? So it's a super strong message. I think it's a timely message. Getting Unshakable Drive, I think, is a critical piece to the whole puzzle. This is something that came out of today's work on the book. Nothing big or of value has ever come without Unshakable Drive. Like I could give you a whole list of people that we would know as people with Unshakable Drive. You could also look at things like the United States of America was created through an Unshakable Drive and the Revolutionary War, right? The abolition of slavery, it was Unshakable Drive, right? Women's suffrage, Unshakable Drive, right? Crushing during World War II, dealing with the Axis powers and so on, right? All of that is Unshakable Drive. Right? And so when you understand the four factors of Unshakable Drive and how it goes and how to activate that for yourself and how to live in it and consistently use it, it'll allow you to be able to do all the other things that we talk about when we talk about coaching and working and driving and personal development, business development, doing your real estate business where it needs to be. So that's the other primary project we've been focused on. And we've been going back and forth. Not to mention all the other things that I normally do, like coaching and meeting with, I met with some leadership today at a real estate office here in Jacksonville. So cool things on the horizon. We're still pressing on, making things happen. All right, so I have been meeting with a lot of different agents. I do these strategy sessions where we have a conversation. Actually, it's an evaluation. And we talk about what's going on in their business. And one of the questions I sometimes ask is, what's your experience been around with coaching? And I'll hear all kinds of things. Like today, I heard someone say, that they spent $12,000 and they really didn't get anywhere. It was like they met with their coach once a month, right? They got a bunch of content. And I actually am familiar with that particular program because we did that program 20 years ago or more, actually more than that. It's a great program, but I really don't know that it would be considered coaching as much as I would call it consulting. Which then, of course, that begs the question, Spencer, what's the difference? Well, I think there's a difference between coaching, counseling, and consulting. Those are three fields that tend to overlap each other. They really do. And it's not uncommon that I'll end up having a conversation that feels a little bit like counseling, but that's not coaching, right? We got to get back on track with the coaching conversation. There's some conversations that are a little bit more consultative. Do this, do that. Here's how I explain the difference between those three that overlap each other. Counseling is non-directive therapy. It typically helps people go from broken to fixed, below average to average, not well to well, right? Bringing them back to center. I actually don't believe that anyone's actually broken anyway. I just believe in ineffective strategies. But there are times when we need to get healing. That's what therapy is about. We're not going to go down the conversation of a therapy culture and how much we love to talk about our problems and we love to live there as a victim. But I want you to understand that's not coaching, okay? Talking about your past and unpacking all the things that are going wrong and how that's affecting you today. I deal with that from time to time because it helps people move forward. But we're not healing anything. That's not a coach. Okay, that'd be like the head coach of a sporting organization reading X-rays and having a conversation about what the physical therapist should be doing. No, that's not what I do, and that's not what coaching does. Right? Some of these people that call themselves life coaches really just want to be counselors, and they're flying under the radar of as a life coach. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. There are, in fact, life coaches. But when they're doing counseling conversations and dealing with unpacking their childhood or whatever, that stays way too much into the counseling discussion. It's not coaching. Do I have those conversations from time to time? Yes. Again, I said they overlap, but that's not where we stay. Consulting is telling you what to do. My opinion, my experience, let's put it this way, is that most people know what to do. They just don't do it. And that's where coaching comes in, right? But consulting is telling you what to do. And so some of these programs, like the one that this gentleman just told me about, paid $12,000 for the year, which, by the way, is not an uncommon price, right? You'll pay anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 a year in a coaching program. Between conferences and so on, it can easily become $20,000. I have spent $20,000 multiple years for development of the craft, right? But consulting is telling you what to do. This is how I did it. You do it the same way. I tell agents all the time, hey, if you're going to call me for a consulting conversation, or if you ask me a question, it's not like I'm going to say no. That's not my job. If I have an answer for you, I will give you an answer, or I'll point you in the right direction. But that's not my primary aim. Sometimes agents, that's what they're looking for. They just want somebody to tell them what to do. And I will do that at times, but it's not my primary goal. That's not coaching. Coaching is very directive in conversation in terms of moving someone through focus, accountability, consistency, and growth. It's about moving someone from average or normal to above average. High performance is the conversation. That's the key word. Can this person that is coaching you able to help get more out of you? That's coaching. I didn't expect to go into all that, but that's the nature of Spencer Uncensored. We just sit here and do this kind of stuff, right? We're drinking water tonight, keeping it tame. All right, moving on. Couple of recurring themes I'm hearing these days, recently. Couple of recurring themes. One of them, we got quite a few crisis situations. So I thought I would help everybody with what do you do when you get the derailments, right? It's one of the 4 Ds that we teach. There's things that will shake you up. And if you're going to be unshakable, you got to learn how to move forward regardless of what shakes you up. But there are things in life that sometimes happen that we call derailments, right? It's not a demand. It's not a distraction, and it's not a delusion. It's a derailment, like a full-on major problem that has showed up that I didn't expect. Some of them we can see in the distance. Some of them, they just happen, right? We're talking divorces. We're talking about separations. We're talking about housing problems. We're talking about sicknesses. There's a lot of crises that I've been reading and talking about and helping people with and moving forward. One of the absolute best things for me to help you to tell you, if you're hearing this and you're in a crisis situation, here's the advice that I'm going to share for you. So if you're in a crisis situation, here's the advice I'm going to share with you tonight. Number 1, problems are not permanent, they're not pervasive, and they're not personal. Now, I didn't say that originally. That's a Tony Robbins conversation. Tony says that. But I think it's a good thing for me to reiterate to you. When we understand that the situation is seasonal, it's not permanent. It's something that's happened in my life, and it's just what's happening, right? Unless we're talking about a terminal situation, that might too also be seasonal. But at the moment, this situation is seasonal. It's not going to permeate everything in your life, because it's, sometimes we look at a problem and we think it's something that's going to impact everything in my life. Not necessarily, unless you allow it to. You might bring that baggage into other parts, right? So I got personal situations at home. That means I can't do my work. That's not true, right? It doesn't have to be pervasive. And it's not personal. I think sometimes we think we're the only person going through these kinds of issues, or we're the only ones that ever have. There are a lot of people that have. I remember going through my divorce years ago, and I would go online. By the way, this is the early times of online stuff, right? The websites were not near as cool as what we have today. I would go back and I would focus in on websites that gave clear direction on what to do in certain situations. It's not a personal situation. It's not just you. And you're not the only one. And you're not that special. Problems happen to everybody. So that's the first thing I'm going to tell you about crisis. Problems are not personal. They're not permanent. They're not pervasive. But the second thing I'm going to tell you, if you're going through a crisis situation, I want you to treat it the same way as when I'm teaching someone how to break a board with their hands. Now, we do this in our events. We have a board breaking exercise. It's just a breakthrough exercise. It's fun. We spend about an hour and a half or so talking about how to do it and what to do and practice and discussion around it. It doesn't really take that long, but it does when you have a room of a couple hundred people. So there are a couple things you need to remind yourself of, and I'm going to give you all three of them real fast. 1, focus beyond the obstacle. 2, you got to operate from your core. And 3, you got to follow the mechanics. Now, there's a lot more to it. It's simple, but it's not easy. So I'm not going to break down the whole thing, but I'm going to just tell you those are the 3 primary things that I tell you if you're in a crisis. If you're in a bad situation, you're trying to figure out how to move forward. Focus beyond the obstacle. What happens is I will hold a board for somebody, and we will unconsciously slow down just before we hit that board. We don't go through the board. Don't focus on the board. We tell people to focus beyond the board. If you're going through a bad situation, you should be seeing what's going to happen on the other side. What happens when I get healed? What happens when I move? What happens when I am moving on from this relationship? And by the way, if you have a relationship situation going on, and that's the problem, I'm going to tell you right now, the problem is not the loss of the relationship, it's the loss of the vision of what you thought you had for the future. Yeah, I know it's Valentine's month, but I'm just throwing it out there, okay? If the crisis situation is, it feels like such a massive obstacle, don't focus on the obstacle. You focus on the opportunity beyond the obstacle. And if you can't see past it, that's part of the problem. You need to start building a new future. Create a compelling future that's on the other side of that obstacle and focus there. Put your energy there. It'll help you get past the obstacle. Dealing with the obstacle, you have to operate from your core. So what am I referring to there? Well, when you're breaking a board, you have to put all your energy, and you train yourself on how to use your midsection. There's a lot of power there. It's not going to be just from my arm and my hand breaking through. You learn how to flow and blow through the board. Well, in a crisis situation, there's some core things that you're going to have to operate from. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You're going to need to take care of yourself in all those areas, all 4. That's the core, your core 4, right? When you're going to have to take care of your body. You're going to have to take care, watch what you're eating, pay attention to what you're feeding yourself. What shows are you looking at on TV, right? If you want to move through this, you're going to have to operate from your core, from within. Nobody's coming to save you. You're going to be the one that's going to get through it. And follow the mechanics. What that's in reference to is how am I going to get past this obstacle? It's going to be going through the process. Not around it, not under it, not over it, but through it. One step at a time. Now, I honestly could drop the whole thing and stop right there with this, because I know that message is going to go out to somebody, and they're going to latch onto it and use this and move themselves forward. I've been doing this for years. It's useful. Matter of fact, yeah. I think that's enough for tonight. If you're going through a crisis situation right now, if things are not the way you want them to be, focus beyond the obstacle. You're not alone, by the way. Yeah. I think a lot of times, by the way, people don't get coaches. They don't realize that's what coaches we do. We help you make sure that, well, number 1, you're never alone. And 2, if you're sitting in a situation where you don't know what to do next, that's what coach is for. We'll ask you the right questions eventually. You'll figure it out. Anyway, all right, guys, it's been a good night. 20 minutes is about what we do here on Spencer Uncensored. It's been a quiet night. You guys haven't said a whole lot, those of you that popped in. So in any event, we're going to press on. If you need something from me, reach out. I'd love to chat. Till then, keep well, keep moving forward, guys. Episode 57's in the books.